Hello everyone. My name is Ni, and this is Lulu, my little dog and my best friend. This is the very first video where I decided to share our life together. Not because our life is exciting or anything special, but because I want to remember these days exactly as they are. Maybe one day, when life gets better, I'll look back and remember where Lulu and I started. Right now, I'm unemployed. I don't really have a steady income, so every dollar I spend matters. This little room has given me a place to sleep and a place to call home. I'm grateful for that, but I don't think it's the right place for Lulu and me anymore. The rent is simply too expensive, and living in a crowded apartment building has become more difficult than I expected. Ever since Lulu came into my life, I've realized this room isn't comfortable for either of us. Lulu deserves more space, and I hope we can find a quiet place where we can begin again. This morning, I looked around this room for a long time. I packed my clothes, folded everything carefully, and wondered if today would be the day our lives change. Honestly, I'm scared. I don't know if we'll find another place to live, but staying here is no longer an option. So, Lulu and I started walking. I don't have much money. I'm not looking for a beautiful house. I'm only hoping to find somewhere simple, safe, and peaceful. A place we can finally call home. As we walked through different streets, I kept looking around. Every time I saw a sign that said, "For rent," I felt a little hopeful. Maybe this one would be different. Eventually, I found a place. I decided to call the owner. He told me the rent was $100 a month because the building sits on a busy main road. It's a great location for running a business. I completely understood. The price made sense, but it wasn't the right place for us. I don't own a business, and honestly, I simply can't afford that kind of rent. Sometimes you come across beautiful places, places you instantly like, but deep inside, you already know they're beyond your reach. I thanked the owner, hung up the phone, smiled to myself, and kept walking. Our search wasn't over yet. A little while later, I found another house. For a moment, I felt hopeful again. Maybe this one would finally fit my budget. But once again, the rent was even higher, $120 a month. The moment I heard the price, I already knew the answer. I couldn't afford it. There are moments in life when the hardest part isn't hearing no, the hardest part is knowing you simply don't have enough. I stood there quietly for a moment, then looked at Lulu. He wagged his tail, as if telling me, "It's okay, let's keep going." And that's exactly what we did. After leaving that place, I started thinking, maybe I was looking in the wrong area. Houses along the main road are always more expensive. If Lulu and I wanted to find a home we could actually afford, we needed to go deeper into the village. Somewhere quieter, somewhere simpler, somewhere people rarely notice. So we kept walking. The road became smaller. There were fewer cars. The air felt cooler. Everything seemed calmer. For the first time that day, I felt a little more hopeful. I stopped at a small local grocery store. I wanted to ask if anyone nearby had a house for rent. To my surprise, the shop owner smiled kindly. She told me there was an empty house not far from there. Then she gave me the landlord's phone number. At that moment, it felt like a small light had appeared after a long morning. I called the landlord right away. I introduced myself. I told him that I was unemployed, that it was just Lulu and me, and that I was simply looking for a quiet place where we could start over. He listened patiently. He didn't interrupt me. When I finished speaking, there was a short silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. The rent was originally $30 a month, but after hearing my story, he said, if $20 is what you can afford, that's okay. For a few seconds, I didn't know what to say. I simply thanked him, again and again. Sometimes, life surprises us in the gentlest way, not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because kind people still exist, and sometimes one act of kindness can completely change someone's day. Soon after, Lulu and I arrived at the house. It wasn't big, it wasn't new, and it certainly wasn't perfect. But the moment I walked inside, I felt something I hadn't felt all day: peace. The house was simple, quiet, clean. There was a small yard, fresh air, and enough space for Lulu to run around freely. I looked at him. He seemed happy. Maybe he had already decided this was home. I slowly walked through every corner of the house, trying to imagine what our new life here might look like. There were no fancy decorations, no expensive furniture, just empty rooms, waiting for a new beginning.
em đã hỏi rồi, em đã nói là em phải nói to. Không phải. Nghe tí này nhận giá cao.
At that moment, I realized something. Happiness doesn't always come from living in a beautiful house. Sometimes, happiness is simply having a place where you feel safe, a place where you can close the door, take a deep breath, and know you've made it home. If I hadn't stopped at that little grocery store, I probably never would have found this house. Life can change so quickly. Sometimes all it takes is one conversation, one kind person, one unexpected opportunity. I decided to pay the deposit. As I handed over the money, I felt a huge weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't thinking about what I had lost. I was thinking about what Lulu and I had just found. I'm still unemployed. I still don't know what tomorrow will bring. There are still many challenges waiting for us, but today, we have a place to call home, and somehow, that gives me the strength to keep moving forward. As the rain began to fall, I found myself thinking even more about my future and Lulu. I truly believe that every difficult season in life will eventually come to an end. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, as long as we don't give up, there will always be hope waiting for us. This little house isn't the end of our journey. It's only the beginning of a brand new chapter. A chapter where Lulu and I will build our life, one small step at a time. Thank you so much for spending this day with us. Thank you for listening to my story, and thank you for walking beside Lulu and me. I hope you'll join us again as we continue this journey together. See you in the next video. Take care, and see you soon.